Welcome to Science and Wisdom Live, where scientists and meditators meet.
Satish, from his own volition, became a Jain monk at the age of 9, or maybe it was even 8, but it was so extraordinarily young. And, you know, what it means is that when you become a Jain monk, you actually give up all your loved ones, because on the idea that that kind of love is a kind of possessive love. And I think for a child of 8 or 9 to do that, and it's quite to the outside world, it's quite a kind of very harsh and rather radical regime that the Jains have. So I want to ask Satish, first of all, what on earth prompted him, aged such a young age? What called him to become a Jain monk and leave his family?
Yes, thank you, Vicki, for that wonderful question. Yes, what triggered my inspiration to become a Jain monk at age 9? The story starts even early. I was 4 years old when my father died. And I saw my father lying, covered with a white sheet, my mother crying, my sisters crying, my brothers crying, all the neighbors and friends coming and crying. It was a very upsetting for a 4-year-old child, not knowing what was going on. And so I asked my mother, why father is not speaking and why are you crying? And my mother said, the father is dead. And I said, what is dead? And mother says, everybody dies and then they don't speak and they don't come back. I could not understand the puzzle. And then everybody's sad and everybody crying. So I started to search that very question from age 4. Why people die? And what is death? And is there a way to stop people dying? That was the question which led me to meet the monks and ask them this question. Is there a way to stop people dying? And monks said that the only way to bring an end to the cycle of birth and death, you have to renounce the world. And I said, I'll do anything and everything to stop people dying and myself dying. That's what I was an innocent child. I thought by renouncing the world, I'll stop dying. So that was the kind of trigger. But for 9 years, as a monk, I realized that death is only a transformation. It's not the end, it's a transformation. And therefore, the fear of death and the worry of death came to an end. And I said, dying is not a problem anymore. Dying is as good as being born, because birth and death are only a process of transformation and a change. But otherwise, life is eternal. And that eternal life will continue forever. And the material form of body and matter will change. And there's no problem. So now I have no fear of death. And so at age 18, I said, there's no need to worry about death. Let's live in the world properly and happily and celebrate life.
So Satish, that's wonderful. But therefore, do you believe in reincarnation? Well, not believe. You feel that reincarnation exists then?
I mean, reincarnation is a kind of mystery. Yes, it exists, but it is not something we can grasp by our intellect or by our reasoning. Reasoning and intellect is not the right tool for understanding reincarnation or life after death. Or all these things are not something you can measure, you can argue, you can logically or rationally can prove, or an evidence. I mean, there are some evidences as well that people remember their previous life, but rarely. not often. And so yes, there is a reincarnation, life continues, but this is not something that we have to prove by our rational and logical and intellectual thinking. We have to just feel it. And sometimes you know more by not knowing exactly and rationally and intellectually. So yes, I mean, in the Buddhist tradition, the Dalai Lama is always reincarnation, and the Buddhist monks go out and find where the previous Dalai Lama is born now, and they find, and not only the Dalai Lama, but all lamas are reincarnated. So this is something you have to feel it, you have to understand it in your consciousness, rather than think that we can prove it logically and rationally.
Lovely. Well, going back to your time as a Jain monk, it's both wonderful in its non-violent basis, isn't it? They really believed in non-violence in such a way that they sweep the ground before them so they don't tread on insects, and they wear masks so they don't breathe in any organisms, and they have their hair plucked out one by one, which must be so painful. How did you deal with that kind of austerity as a child?
Yes, I did. I did deal with austerity and hardship with pleasure, because I took it voluntarily. It was not imposed on me. I knew that by accepting pain, suffering, difficulty, and walking for 9 years, I was walking without shoes, hot, cold, whatever the season, and I was begging for food. So I will not cook, I will not grow, I will just beg, and only once in 24 hours that you eat, otherwise no breakfast, no dinner, just lunch. So that kind of austerity, as you already mentioned, was accepted by me. So for 9 years, I accepted. And when you go through austerity and a kind of simple life, you become more resilient, and you become more strong in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit, in your consciousness, also in your body. So that gave me more resilience and fearlessness. And I felt that by going inwards and cultivating my wisdom and cultivating my spirit of compassion, of generosity, of love, of a sense of beauty in that kind of spiritual life, all those things were part of my search. And therefore, this was not a problem. Austerity was all voluntarily accepted, and that made me strong.
Lovely. And were you happy?
I was happy. I was happy with the austerity, and I was happy with all the kind of difficulties of physical difficulties. But where I found unhappiness when I was 18 years old, that I was feeling very isolated. That's where the unhappiness came. I felt that I cannot I feel that I'm a superior, I'm higher, and all the people who are in the world are somehow living in a sinful way, in a kind of bad way. The world is a dirty place, world is a sinful place, world is a trap, world, I'm liberated. And that made me feel kind of bad. And I thought, that's very superiority, so complex, and I am free myself from the sinful world. So how to live in the world with compassion, with love, doing ordinary things, but with a different consciousness. That was the inspiration coming from Mahatma Gandhi, that I felt unhappy, and so I decided to leave the monastic order.
Yes, because that struck the quote that Marco read out was one that I've actually written down too, as a kind of turning point, that religion is not religion if it does not help. So if it does not help solve the problem of the world. I thought that was a very interesting to move from the small community of monasticism out into the world activism. This was your transition. So you did your big walk. I've read your autobiography too, and I like it's a wonderful book, and very exciting too, because it's like you dared to do what seems to be the unthinkable. which is to walk from India to Moscow, Paris, and then over to London, and then to get to America to deliver these packets of tea, and to actually get these big nations, the presidents of all these countries, to actually sign the nuclear test ban treaty. It's an incredible thing. Now, your guru gave you he said he would give you the protection of two things. I think it was to travel without money, and to travel, was it without accepting lifts from anybody?
That's right.
So that was very brave. Were you frightened when you set off without money?
I mean,
And
I was a little bit anxious because going through unknown countries, unknown languages, unknown people, going through Muslim countries, Christian countries, communist countries, capitalist countries, mountains, deserts, snow,
Yeah.
rain, and going without money and being vegetarian and walking, it was challenging. But then what I said to myself, let's stop thinking about next day even, or next country even. Just live by the moment. And every moment became very different. Because when you worry, you anticipate problems. But when you stop worrying and don't anticipate problems, if the problem comes, it's not so big. Because you have imagination, you have resilience, you have compassion, you have a creativity, you can solve the problems. No problem is big enough which cannot be solved by human imagination and human courage and human creativity. And so I stopped thinking about unknown countries, unknown languages. How am I going to survive tomorrow? I said, what is happening today? And today, every day was amazing. People were giving me food, people were giving me shelter, people were giving me hospitality. And so I was every day amazed. And even if sometimes I did not get the food, then I said, oh, this is a good opportunity to fast. Because as a monk, I knew how to fast. I ate only once a day, but even if I have to go without food for 24 hours or 48 hours, so what? So I'm prepared to fast. So I took that opportunity as a fast. And then if I had to sleep under the stars, outdoor in the desert where there are no villages, and in the mountains there are no villages, you have to walk and walk and walk, and nothing there, no habitat. So I said, I'm sleeping under the stars, and this is my million-star hotel. Who cares for 5-star hotel? And so taking that, I mean, taking problems with a positive spirit and accepting them, like as a monk, I accepted hardship and austerity. Because in the same way, I was trained to accept hardship and austerity, even when I was walking around the world.
That's right. That's right. I mean, what impressed me so much was that you managed without money, and this. I mean, we're so obsessed with money in this day and age, aren't we? And we keep thinking we want more and more,
Yeah.
and that we're not going to be secure without money. I mean, I mean, this is probably a silly question, but I wonder, do you think that the world could exist without the money? Do you think it could? Do you think we could without this kind of total obsession we've got with money and the security of money?
Yeah. I mean, we are a bit over obsessed about money, and we do everything for money. We think money is the master, money is the savior. That, I think, is wrong. And I think we can live without thinking the money is be all and end all. Money is our master. Without money, we cannot survive. Because we have two hands, we can grow food. I grow my food. I've been harvesting potatoes yesterday and this morning. I grow food. I can build houses. I can make clothes. I can make furniture. I can make pottery. I can make things. I have a brain. I have imagination. So people underestimate their potential. People underestimate their capacity. They have become so impotent and so kind of dependent on money. that they think they cannot survive. But I say, do whatever you want to do with love and for love and not for money. Money is only a facilitator. Money is only a means to an end, means to exchange. But if you just work for money, that's the human life is too valuable and too precious to waste just to earn money and pay the bills. You need to have a greater, bigger vision and bigger ideal for life. And so I have lived not only during those 2.5 years, and that I lived without any money. I did not touch even money. And people gave me food, people gave me shoes, people gave me haircut, people gave me clothes, people gave me everything. So I survived without money. And I trusted that people will give me money. I survived on the hospitality and kindness and generosity of strangers every day. And when these women who gave me packets of tea, they asked me this question, that you have come from India without any money. How do you survive and how do you eat? They could not think that how one can eat without having money. And I said, people give us food. People ask us, do you want some food? And she said, oh, yes, is that true? Can we offer you some food? Are you hungry? I said, yes, it's lunchtime. And she was working in a tea factory. And so I said, anytime it's tea time, we will. So that's how we came. And we went into the tea factory and she gave us food. And she gave us bread and butter and cheese and jam and lovely tea. And then she had a brainwave. And she thought, oh, you are going to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington. I have an idea. I would like to give you 4 packets of peace tea. Please give 1 packet to our premier in the Kremlin, 2nd packet to our president of France, 3rd packet to the prime minister of England, and 4th packet to the president of the United States of America. And please tell them to drink a cup of peace tea when they have a mad thought of pressing the nuclear button. Can you imagine that having, if I had money, I'll buy my food, I'll never meet these women to give me a packet of peace tea. And that gave me a mission to go to the Kremlin, go to the White House, meet the leaders of the government in Russia and America and France and England, and tell them that here's a packet of peace tea. And please remember the message from an ordinary woman in a tea factory by the Black Sea in Georgia. That would have never happened if I had money in my pocket. So the experiences I got by walking, and this was the height of Cold War. And therefore, people were very interested in peace, very interested in nuclear disarmament. And therefore, somebody making a pilgrimage for peace without money, that inspired them. So I think having no money was a great asset for me. If I had money, I would not have all that experiences which I had. So I thank my teacher, Vinoba, who gave me this idea that go without any money. Yeah. I tell you, that was the biggest decision and the best decision and the most important decision that I made, to go without any money for 2.5 years around the world. How much money I would have needed? If I had money, it would have been thousands and thousands of pounds, and it would still not be enough. And hotels and restaurants and all that. And I was completely free. What people gave me, I ate. And whatever people gave me, the bed, I slept. And I just kept walking. So free. So freedom from money was the greatest freedom for 2.5 years.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Now, you have been based the Jain message and Gandhi's message, and the message that you have carried with you all these years is of non-violence. Very, very big in your life.
Yeah.
But can it actually work? Now, just bear with me for a second, because it seems that human beings have got built into themselves for some reason this kind of, if they want something, this is what's happened with Ukraine recently, they just go and grab it by force. They grab it by force. People grab people by force if they want it. That's the rapes of the world and so forth. We have been invading each other's countries since time began. You want this bit of land, you go out and grab it. Have you got any answer to what can stop people just grabbing things by force for what they want? How can we get this you know, it's a kind of a desperation. Often the country is hungry and they think if they grab the next country, they can get the food that they want from the next country.
Yeah.
This is a
Now,
dilemma that,
Vicky, there are two answers to that question. Number one answer is, of course, human psychology, human nature is a mixture of love and hate, violence and non-violence, love and hate together. So we are a mixture. Like in the garden, you have a garden which is a mixture of weeds, flowers, herbs, vegetables. Always there'll be weeds. But what attention do you put on? Do you put and cultivate more weeds, or do you cultivate flowers, herbs, vegetables, and fruit? So we are gardeners of life. Of course, there is a violence in our psyche, but we always diminish and discourage as much as we can, like we discouraged weeds and put the weeds on the compost so that that become again soil. But we cultivate and encourage and water and compost fruit and vegetables and flowers. In the same way, in our mind, in our psyche, we have love, we have compassion, we have a kindness, we have generosity, we want to help each other. And millions of people in the world are helping each other. They are, mothers are looking after children, teachers are looking after children, pupils, doctors are looking after patients, nurses are looking after ill people. Millions and millions of farmers are growing food to feed other people. Millions and millions of artists and craftspeople are. So there's not just violence, as you said. It is there, of course it is there, but that is not the only ruling factor. Non-violence, like we grow fruit and vegetables and flowers and grain and rice and wheat and so on. In the same way, we have love and compassion in our heart. So that's the one answer. The second answer is we are evolving. Human mind, human consciousness is evolving as we have evolving technology, we have evolving science, we have evolving literature, language. In the same way, we are also evolving in our consciousness. And we, at the moment, of course, Ukraine war is going on. But if you look at the history, in the history, there were colonialism, imperialism, racism, apartheid, sexism, Berlin Wall, First World War, Second World War. Now, less sexism, less racism, less Berlin Wall, less world wars. There were small wars happening, but we are evolving, and more European people say we don't want any war. And Ukraine and Russia in the end has to come and settle their problems by negotiation. They cannot win war. America could not win war in Vietnam. America could not win war in Iraq. America could not win war in Afghanistan, in spite of millions and billions of dollars spending on armaments and nuclear weapons and Pentagon. They are useless. They could not win a tiny country like Afghanistan. What hope there is for any country to win any war? War has become useless, futile, unnecessary. So we have to evolve our consciousness. We have to get wisdom. We have to understand that war cannot win. So Russia is stupid. Ukraine is stupid. Both of them are stupid. They think they can solve problem by killing each other, making millions of refugees. So stupid. So we have to grow up. And that is why my message of non-violence is. The third point I want to make is, like doctors take an oath, Hippocratic oath of doing no harm. Politicians, industrialists, business leaders, scientists, teachers, everybody should take a Hippocratic oath. Say, first, do no harm. Doing harm is no good to anybody. If we don't evolve in that, and all this education in Harvard and Cambridge and Oxford and Yale and all the university education is useless. People are just being so stupid to kill each other and think that you can win the war and you can solve the problem by killing each other and spending money on armaments. That's stupidity. So I am very passionate about non-violence, about peace, and about love, and about compassion.
And so you are going around the world at the moment teaching these things and talking about these things. How, I mean, where can people? I agree with you that I think that we are evolving. I also feel like that, but I just wonder, with people wanting to get with the I don't just mean the Russian oligarchs, but more and more people wanting to be rich. It's such a temptation to think that the freedom, the great divide between the haves and the have-nots doesn't seem to be getting any better, Satish. It seems to be getting worse, with more people having, with a few people getting more and many, many more people having less and less. So it needs to be balanced out a bit, I think, to stop the greed. I think greed is also as much part of human nature as the violence or the is. I mean, I wonder what you have to say about.
No, I agree with you. The greed is part of human nature, and the gap between the rich and the poor is increasing, and the rich are becoming richer and poor are becoming poorer, and there's a big problem. And so that gives us opportunity to work even harder and campaign for social justice, environmental justice, and more equality, and more human values, and more human rights. So this is a kind of opportunity. When the colonialism, that gave opportunity to Mahatma Gandhi to fight for independence of countries. When racism was an opportunity for Martin Luther King to fight for end of racism. When there was sexism, like Simone de Beauvoir in Japan, in France, and many other women, suffragettes in England, and many, many women had no vote, and so they fought for freedom of women, vote for women, rights for women, equality for women, and now situation is better. So in the same way, I agree with you that there's an inequality, there's a greed, and people want more money, and they think having money is the be on and all. But this gives us the opportunity to create a big movement for social justice. Be activist, give your life, like Mahatma Gandhi, like Martin Luther King, like Nelson Mandela, like Mother Teresa, like Simone de Beauvoir, like Pankhurst. Many, many women and men have fought for good human rights and rights of nature, like Rachel Carson, rights of nature, and Bangari Mathai and Vandana Shiva, rights of nature. So rights of nature, rights of people, that campaign has to grow bigger, and we all have to join the movement. Those who wish equality, justice, and compassion in the world, they are just wishing is not enough. Good wishes. I wish the whole world was beautiful. I wish everybody was compassionate. I wish everybody was equal, and so on. Wishing is not enough. Come out of your comfortable home. Come out on the street like Nelson Mandela. Are you prepared to go to jail for 27 years to bring an end to inequality? Martin Luther King went to prison 29 times, even though he died at the age of 35. But 29 times he was prepared to go to prison. So we have to put our life on the line and be active and work for social justice, work for peace, work for equality, work for human rights, and work for rights of nature. That is our challenge. We have to be active.
Lovely, thank you. Now, you have a love affair with nature and the land. This is very clear from your books and how you speak, and Schumacher, small is beautiful, and all of that. And so you seem to feel that humans can be almost redeemed by nature, and that nature and spirituality are one. I wonder if I've written a little note here that, do you think that union with the divine is possible through nature?
Yes. Simple answer is yes. Because nature is divine. According to our Hindu philosophy, God and nature are not separate. God, or Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Isha, is in nature. And nature is our teacher. Look at the soil. Soil, earth, is so forgiving. Even the Buddha, when Rahul, his son, asked the Buddha, "Father, you are the world teacher. Who is your teacher?" Buddha touched the earth, called Bhumi Sparsh Mudra, touch the earth posture. And he said to his son Rahul, "Earth is my teacher. Soil is my teacher. Earth and soil are so forgiving. We dig it, we tread on it, we build on it, and yet when we put one seed in the ground, it gives you 1,000 fruit of apples or oranges or bananas or grain. So earth is generous, and earth gives its love and compassion unconditionally. Earth and soil never says that I will only feed the saints and good people and not the sinners and not the criminals and not the prisoners. No, earth will feed everybody. Earth goes beyond right and wrong, beyond good and bad, beyond saint and sinner. Everybody, undiscriminating, without any judgment, everybody is fed by earth. Are you prepared to be as kind and compassionate to everybody? That's what Buddha said to Rahul. So earth is our teacher. Earth is our spiritual guide. Same as with water. Water does not discriminate between a saint and a sinner, or poet and a prisoner, or priest and a prisoner. Everybody is able to quench their thirst with water. So we can learn from nature. And nature is divine. God is not separate somewhere behind the clouds, controlling the world, or created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. That is a nice story. And stories are beautiful. I'm not against stories, but ultimately, nature is sacred. Nature is divine. And we are nature. Nature and humans are not separate. And humans are not above nature. We are made of earth, air, fire, water, and consciousness. And trees are also made of earth, air, fire, water, and consciousness. Nature is alive. Nature is intelligent. Nature has consciousness. So we have to revere nature. See why I call reverential ecology. Not only deep ecology, but reverential ecology. At the moment, humanity has turned nature into a resource for the economy. That is a total mistake. Nature is not simply a resource for the economy. Nature is a source of life itself. So we have to respect nature and love nature and be one with nature, protect nature, conserve nature, because we are nature. What we do to nature, we do to ourselves. If we destroy nature, we are destroying ourselves. If we cut the branch upon which we are sitting, we are going to fall down. And the nature is the branch upon which we are sitting. We depend on nature. Our food, our clothes, our houses, our medicine, everything comes from nature. How can we destroy nature? How can we pollute our rivers with sewage? How can we pollute our oceans with plastic? How can we pollute our soil with chemicals and fertilizers? How can we put greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? That is all sin against nature. So nature is our true religion. Nature is our true teacher, our spiritual guide. We must revere nature and live in harmony with nature.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I have so many questions, but we're running almost out of time. So there's one thing I wanted to ask you. Is there a conflict between the spiritual quest and the yearning of the spiritual path and the responsibilities of married life? You have had both, so you are married and you've been married and you are married. And I wondered, I think a lot of people have these, is it possible to have, because often the spiritual life is very demanding not demanding in a nasty way, but demanding because of what one yearns to, where one wants to go. And you need to do pilgrimage, and you've done pilgrimages since your big walk, which takes you away, and or you need to go and do something because of your spiritual feelings. Do you think that they're compatible, or that there's conflict between these two big pulls in human nature?
In my view, there is no conflict between being religious, being spiritual, and being worldly and married and family person. Because if you have family, husband, wife, you express your spirituality, your love through that one person, your wife or husband, or your children, or your members of your family, or your neighbors. And practicing spirituality in everyday ordinary life, because you can't make spirituality exclusive to monks. in a monastic order. Because how many people can go and live as a monk? 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, a million. But what about 8 billion people? Are they all going to live in a monastic order and be unmarried bachelors or celibates? No. So we have to make spirituality and religion available to every single person on the planet Earth. Spirituality is not exclusive to any one group of people. Spirituality includes everybody. So we can all love. We are all capable of loving. We are all capable of compassion. We are all capable of generosity. How you express that love, compassion, generosity, and kindness is up to you. Somebody can express that in family life. Somebody can express it in their work life. Somebody can express it in their monastic order. Doesn't matter. The diversity of ways of living is wonderful. We should celebrate diversity. So some people like to be monks, some people like to be married, somebody like to be business, somebody will like to be farmers, somebody like to be gardeners, somebody like to be poets, somebody like to be business people, somebody like to be politicians. Be whatever you want to be. Doesn't matter. As long as your motivation is of compassion, of love, of relationship, as long as your heart feels the love and compassion, and whatever you do for love and with love and out of love, then doesn't matter what expression you have outside. I celebrate diversity of approaches in religion. There's no one way, an exclusive way. The only way is to become monastic and live in a monastic order. That's a one way. Some people prefer that, and that's fine. No problem. I was that as well. But I want diversity, and I want everybody to feel that I am capable of living religious life in whatever I am doing.
That's beautiful. One last question. Your new book is called, you've written, I believe, 10 books, and your latest book, which hasn't yet been published, I believe, is called Radical Love. Can you just give us, please, just a little taste of what that, or is have you just said it? What Radical Love is about?
Yes. My book, Radical Love, is going to be published on the 14th of February, 2023 by Parallax Press. Parallax Press is a publishing house established by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist master who passed away recently. He was an avatar. So Radical Love is principally saying that as gravity holds material world together, love holds the non-material and the spiritual life together. So for external material world, we have principle of gravity. For the internal world, for the motivation and for intention and for spirit and for relationships, we need similar principle like gravity, and that principle is love. And so whatever you do, don't do it for money, but do it for love. And money is only a byproduct. Money is only a means to an end. Money will help to get by and get along, but your motivation should be love. So if you are doing gardening, garden with love. If you are doing farming, farm with love. If you are teaching, teach with love. If you are a doctor, medicine with love. Whatever you do, if you are a writer, write for love and with love. If you do everything with love in your heart, love for humanity, and love not only for others, but also love for yourself. You have to love yourself as much as you love others, and you have to love others as much as you love yourself. So love does not stop others with others. Love also begins with yourself. So love yourself, love your friends, love your family, love the world, love your work, love everything. So love is the organizing principle of all our lives. That's the fundamental radical love. And read the book. It will come out in February 2023.
Thank you, Satish. I think I've been hogging you for three-quarters of an hour, and I still have some more questions, but there's no time. But just wonderful, wonderful answers, and it's been a real joy to talk to you, and I really thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. You're very good questions, and I'm delighted to have this dialogue with you, Vicki.
Thank you. Back to you, Sajda.
Thank you so much, Satish and Vicki. This was really wonderful to listen to and to behold for us all. We are opening the questions, so it's in the Zoom room, but also on the live stream. So if you have any questions, I know the live stream is a little bit delayed, but for the people here in the Zoom room, maybe to start with, please raise your digital hand, which you find under the reactions button, or you can just write your question here in the chat box. And while we're waiting for questions, I can start with the first question, which really struck me, Satish. And it's really about a balance between contemplative practice or meditation and retreat and all these aspects of a spiritual life and activism. And as I said to you before, when we met on Zoom before this interview, I think you're kind of an embodiment, the ideal embodiment of this balance, because you have both. You have that contemplative aspect very strongly, as well as that very activist side as well. And my question is, did you ever have problems with finding that balance? Did you ever find like that maybe sometimes the activist side takes over? Because in a way they're opposites, right? Like activism is going out into the world, trying to be as as engaged as possible, change things and so on. While contemplative practice is very much going inside and trying to actually withdraw a little bit from all the worry
Yes.
thoughts.
Yes. Saida, yes, I have been through the kind of tension between meditation or action. And sometimes I'm more drawn to meditation, and I don't want to go out and do anything. Just I want to be at peace and be silence and meditate and be happy and spend my time there. And then other side of me calls for action, because suffering of the world, so the compassion in my heart, I can't just retreat to myself in my meditation when I see so much suffering, so much pain, so much misery, so much hardship out there. And so I get drawn to be an activist. So what I have found is that we need both. We need both in equal measures, because without contemplation, without meditation, without being mindful and heartful in your personal life, without happy within yourself, without contentment within yourself, you have a kind of craving for achievement and a hankering for achievement. And then when you don't achieve something, you get disappointed. So in order to avoid that disappointment, in order to avoid that burnout out of activism, that you need to have this contemplative, spiritual way of life, so you can meditate and you can be detached and you can be engaged but detached, and do your service out of compassion, out of love, without any craving for desire for achievement or results or outcome. And that helps me by being contemplative and meditative and spiritual. So I think these two balance very well. And I have found that my happiness and my joy in helping others and working, being an activist to reduce the suffering in the world brings me joy, because I'm doing it with detachment and I'm doing it out of compassion and not out of desire to achieve something. Achievement is in the hands of the universe. Only thing in my hand is my action. So I act and act and act, and I leave it at that.
That sounds very wise. And I'm reminded of the Mahabharata, I think, and the role of Shiva there, who talks about action as being non-action. It's very beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, sister. Yeah. Thank you so much. We have a question from Alison. Alison, would you like to unmute yourself?
Certainly. Thank you very much, Satish, for such an inspiring interview. I've really, really enjoyed it. And Vicki. I live in Somerset, in Frome, where we're developing a centre to promote kindness. We had a kindness festival earlier this year. We're involving young people in programs in kindness in schools and things like that. And I wondered if you were willing to say something about kindness and about the relationship between the love and the activism that you're talking about and the whole idea of kindness.
Yes. Kindness is everything. When you are kind to other people, you are happy. When you are cruel or unkind to other people, it brings you unhappiness. It doesn't harm or hurt others as much as it hurts you when you are cruel. And so when you are being kind not only on others, but you are also being kind to yourself. And so kindness is a kind of double benefit, you can call it double benefit. You are kind to somebody, they get help, they get support, but by being kind to others, you are being kind to yourself, and that will make you happy. So kindness is everything. So, yeah, so I'm delighted that you are organizing a festival of kindness, and wish you very best and every success. And I think if we can learn to be kind, we will be happy. Happiness will not come from more money or better job or name or fame or prestige or power or anything else. Happiness will come through kindness.
Thank you very, very much. Can I ask just one follow-up question? So if you were asked to talk about the relationship between love and kindness, what would you say?
Yeah, love is acceptance of whoever it is that you are in love with. Love of yourself, you accept yourself who you are, rather than being judgmental, say, I'm not good enough, I want to be somebody else, I want to be like that person. That kind of expectation you drop. You drop all expectations from yourself and from others, and accept other people and yourself as you are, who you are. And everyone is a divine being. Everyone is themselves. It's wonderful that everybody is different, and they should be different. So acceptance, total, unconditional, and absolute acceptance is love. And dropping all the expectations is also so love is more a kind of psychological, emotional state of being. Kindness, on the other hand, is active. When you are kind, you are being active to help, to offer something, to cook for something, or to push a wheelchair for somebody, or carry a little bag of an older person. So it's a kindness, a more action, whereas a love is a more a state of being and a state of mind and a state of consciousness. And out of love, you act, and then action becomes kindness.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Alison, for that those two beautiful questions. So we have another question from the chat, and it's being asked: many people, especially young people, currently have depression and mental health issues. Do you have a specific message for them, Satish?
Yes. Young people are under pressure. It's the pressure from parents, pressure from adult society, that they have to achieve, they have to get a job, they have to be successful. I think that pressure needs to be, so it works from both sides. So adult world, the parents and the grown-ups, we need to put less pressure on young people. Let the young people be who they are, and let them achieve what they will in their own way without any pressure. So that's our job. And I would like young people to learn not only intellectual skills, but practical skills as well. So at the moment, our young people are mostly learning computer skills and thinking skills, reasoning skills, management skills, and so on. But our young people don't know how to cook properly and lovingly, how to grow food as a gardener lovingly and imaginatively and enjoyably, how to make a furniture, how to make pottery, how to build a house, how to mend things. So then when you can't do anything with your hands, and you're only thinking, your mind is overdeveloped, and your skills, hand skills and feeling skills, emotional skills are underdeveloped, then young people become depressed and become exhausted and become unhappy. So I would advise every young person to learn some practical skills, head, heart, and hands together. At the moment, our young people only develop head, only brain, and only half brain, the left hemisphere of the brain. The right hemisphere of the brain of imagination, creativity, spirituality, all those things are not developed. So develop your both sides of brain, but also develop your heart, the feeling, love, compassion, kindness, generosity, all those are courage. Young people need to learn to be courageous. When I was 26, I had a courage to go around the world without any money. So courage is the remedy for young people's exhaustion and depression and a kind of frustration. So develop your heart qualities, but also develop your hand qualities. Make something. When you are a maker, you feel good about it. I made it. I wrote the poem. I danced. I sang. I did something with my hand. I grew my food. I cooked my food. So you feel more satisfaction and more joy. Sending emails and having kind of computer skills and so on are all fine, but they don't bring you the kind of joy and happiness you have when you have made something with your own hands. So dancing, singing, writing, poetry, gardening, cooking, woodwork, anything you can do, art and craft, that is hand skills. So head, heart, and hands. I want young people to develop those three, and they will have less frustration.
Very beautiful, thank you. And actually, I know that in ecotherapy, there's a theory that actually just putting your hands in the soil, just without gloves, obviously, it brings you antidepressant nutrients. Like the soil actually has a certain specific quality that is antidepressant, which is a very.
I agree. I agree. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Every school should have a garden. Every university should have a farm. And young people in schools and universities should have opportunity to touch the soil, plant the seeds, and see the seeds grow, and magic of nature and the miracle of nature, that one seed transforming itself into 1,000 fruit or 100 fruit, tomatoes, potatoes, apples, whatever, raspberries, strawberries, anything. That experience will make young people less depressed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And I have the experience that taking care of plants, actually, it's one of the best ways to learn how our love is a fundamental ingredient of, well, something growing and flourishing, and that soil and air and light are not enough if we don't put that loving, caring, attentive kindness. I have a question for you, Satish. You described beautifully how when you were 18, you overcame your fear of death. And so you could enjoy and celebrate life, which is a very courageous attitude. And I think it relates a little bit to the previous question. I think many people, especially from the young generation, feel that there is not much to enjoy or celebrate because all the social, political, and environmental crises are overwhelming. So how can we keep a joyful and courageous attitude in the face of, well, the global situation? And
yes. First of all, we need to learn to celebrate relationships at every level. Human nature relationship, we have to celebrate. Human to human relationship, we have to celebrate. And have relationship with people and nature without any expectations, without any desires. Relationship for the sake of relationship. Love for the sake of love. Kindness for the sake of kindness. When you have that celebration, then Problems of the world will always be with us, but we can underrate them, undermine them by celebrating, by bringing positive energy. If we get stuck in the negative energy, the things are going wrong, and then we worry about it, and we are frustrated with it, and we are not. So instead of worrying about what is wrong in the world, celebrate what is good in the world. There are so many wonderful things: personal relationship, family relationship, social relationship, religious relationship, relationship with nature, in the forest, among the trees, walking by the river, swimming in the ocean. Celebrate life. That is the antidote to all kinds of problems that we have today. Love is the answer to all your questions.
Thank you very much, Satish.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for this wonderful session, and wish you best of luck with everything you do. Thank you.